In the main series game, Mega Evolution works only during the battle. For a Pokemon to Mega Evolve, a Pokemon must be holding the appropriate Mega Stone, and the trainer must have a Keystone. Only Rayquaza does not need a Mega Stone to Mega Evolve. Instead, it must know the move Dragon Ascent. Kyogre and Groudon do not Mega Evolve, but instead transform into primal forms. But we'll talk about this at a later date, but for today's video, we're going to be talking about Generation 1 and Generation 2 Pokemon. So when we're talking about how this would be implemented into Pokemon Go, it would probably be different than the main series game, but this isn't the first time that Niantic has done something like this. So when we talk about Megas, Megas would have better stats, new movesets, so when you evolve the Pokemon to the Mega form, it would actually get a new moveset, but don't worry, you would still be able to use TMs to get back to the ideal moveset. And in some cases, some of the Pokemon actually have different typing than what their predecessor does. To limit the number of Megas, I don't think it should come down to something as simple as possessing candy to be able to evolve it, unless it was just a massive amount of candy, maybe like 1,000 or 2,000 per evolution, but instead would come down to an actual Mega Stone, and to obtain a Mega Stone, you would have to do certain things to apply it, such as walking a certain amount of kilometers with the Pokemon, maybe 100 kilometers with the Pokemon, winning a certain amount of gym battles with that particular Pokemon, winning a certain number of raids with a certain Pokemon as a raid boss, so it would incentivize you to go out and raid. And then maybe something like spinning a certain number of Pokestops or gyms. The implementation is quite limitless. So what we're going to be doing is taking a look at Generation 1, Generation 2 Pokemon. We're going to be starting out at the lowest CP and then working our way up. We have quite a bit of Pokemon to cover, so we're going to go ahead and get started with it. The first Pokemon that we have on the list is Mega Beedrill with a max CP of 3,262. Mega Beedrill has no change to its typing. It was originally buffed from 1,777, giving it a total change of CP in 1,485. So definitely an improvement, and would definitely become a viable option from a bug type perspective. Up next, we have Mega Pidgeot with a max CP of 3,417. Mega Pidgeot does keep its typing. It is being buffed from 1,994, giving it a total change in CP of 1,423. If Flying type was more relevant in the game, Pidgeot would be a very good Pokemon to battle with. Up next, we have Mega Venusaur with a max CP of 3,424. Mega Venusaur does keep the same typing of grass and then also poison type. We definitely have an interesting conversation that can occur with Mega Venusaur. So we know that a couple of months ago from Community Day, you do have the ability to have a Venusaur that knows the move Frenzy Plant. But what would happen if Mega Venusaur did not know Frenzy Plant? It would be very interesting to see which Pokemon would actually perform better. Would the stats be able to help it outperform a better move? That would be something that would definitely be worth some interest when that comes around. Its original max CP is 2,568, giving it a buff of 856. Next on the list, we have Mega Houndoom with a max CP of 3,526. Mega Houndoom does keep its typing of dark and then also fire type. When we talk about the stats, its original max CP is 2,529, giving it a buff of 997. Up next on the list, we have Mega Steelix with a max CP of 3,656. Mega Steelix does keep its typing of steel and then also ground type. This Pokemon is already a really cool Pokemon, very incredible from a stats perspective. Although the CP does not show it, we can go ahead and talk a little bit about that. So its original max CP is 2,439, but with this buff getting a Mega Evolution, it is raised 1,217. Up next, we have Mega Charizard X with a max CP of 3,659. There are two Mega Charizard forms, the X form and then also the Y form. When we're talking about the X form, it does get a change in typing from fire to flying to now fire to dragon type. So it does get some advantages from changing the typing, and with a new moveset, it could actually end up being a really good option. We will cover Mega Charizard Y when we cover it later on in the list. Before this Pokemon, Charizard's max CP is 2,686, and with this, it's giving it a buff of 973. Up next, we have yet another starter Pokemon getting a Mega Evolution, and that is Mega Blastoise with a max CP of 3,660. Mega Blastoise does keep its typing of a pure water type. Currently, Blastoise doesn't really serve a place in the meta. It doesn't even crack the top 5 water type Pokemon. But maybe with a Mega form, Blastoise would actually become useful and something that I would be personally very excited to see. The original max CP is 2,291, and with the Mega Evolution, giving it a buff of 1,369. Up next, we have Mega Kangaskhan with a max CP of 3,668. Mega Kangaskhan does keep its normal typing. You will see that the baby is finally flying out of the pouch for this Mega Evolution, and I would say that for normal type Pokemon, they don't really serve as much of a purpose in the game, but definitely something that would be really cool to have. If this were to happen, I would imagine that it would not need to be a regional exclusive, or maybe it does. Maybe we have a ton of regional exclusive Mega Pokemon that would still be available to us. But when we talk about the stats, its original max CP is 2,463. So with this, it would give it a buff of 1,205. Up next on the list, we have Mega Slowbro with a max CP of 3,823. Mega Slowbro does keep its original typing of water and also psychic. I'm not sure what is up with Slowpoke, Slowbro, Slowking having this shell always on it. Now it seems to have gotten itself in a pickle. It's almost like this shell is going to completely consume Slowbro in this. Definitely pretty funny. I don't think it's going to work out so great in the game, but something that I think a lot of people would really enjoy to have. When we talk about the stats, its original max CP is 2,482, and with this, it would give it a buff of 1,341. Up next on the list, we have a Pokemon that I am very excited about, love the way it looks, and that is Mega Aerodactyl with a max CP of 3,855. Mega Aerodactyl does keep its original typing of rock and then also flying type. But beyond just talking about it from a cosmetic standpoint, it does get a decent buff in the stats. When we talk about its original max CP at 2,608, with the Mega Evolution, it gets a buff of 1,247. Up next on the list, we have a Generation 2 Pokemon, and that is Mega Scizor with a max CP of 3,859. Mega Scizor does keep its original typing of Bug and then also Steel type. When we take a look at the stats, its original max CP is 2,801, and with the Mega Evolution, it would get a buff of 1,058. Up next, we have another Bug-type Pokemon on the list, coming from the Generation 1, and that is Mega Pinsir with a max CP of 3,896. Mega Pinsir is a bug and then also picks up the flying type with this Mega Evolution. So the second Pokemon we've seen on the list that does get a change in the typing, or in this case, an addition to it. Pinsir's original max CP is 2,770, so with the Mega Evolution, it would give it a buff of 1,126. Up next on the list, we have Mega Gengar with a max CP of 3,927. Mega Gengar does retain its original typing of Ghost and then also Poison type. Definitely a very menacing Pokemon and something that would be so much fun to be able to battle with. Gengar is already great from a Ghost type perspective. Just imagine having a Mega form of it. Its original max CP is 2,619, and with the Mega Evolution giving it a buff of 1,308. Up next on the list, we have a Generation 2 Pokemon, and that is Mega Ampharos with a max CP of 4,006. Mega Ampharos is a dual-type Pokemon of Electric because it picks up its secondary type of Dragon. You may have heard about this during the community day with Ampharos, talking about how the Mega Evolution picks up the Dragon type, so getting an exclusive move that is Dragon type all of a sudden does not seem so foreign. But I would be a little bit curious to know how Ampharos performs under this typing. Would it have a better spot in the meta versus Ampharos as a pure electric type Pokemon? But when we take a look at the stats, its original max CP is 2,695, but with the Mega Evolution, it gives it a boost of 1,311. Up next, we have Mega Alakazam with a max CP of 4,175. Mega Alakazam does retain its typing of a pure Psychic type Pokemon. This is a Pokemon that I would absolutely love to battle with. Alakazam is already incredible, so to just be able to get some buff stats out of Alakazam would be super fun. Maybe it would lose a little bit of the glass cannon with this. Its original max CP is 2,887, so that would be a buff of 1,288. Now we're going to go ahead and cover the second version of the Mega Charizard, and that is Mega Charizard Y with a max CP of 4,287. Mega Charizard Y does retain the original typing of fire and then also flying. So you can kind of see it as a straight up buff from Charizard, but then with the Mega Charizard X, you could see it as changing the typing, so it definitely adds a whole new element to it. So when we talk about the max CP, its original max CP is 2,686. So with this, it gives it a change of 1,601, which is actually the third highest buff out of this entire list that we are going to take a look at. Up next, we have another bug-type Pokemon, and that is Mega Heracross with a max CP of 4,495. Mega Heracross is a dual-type Pokemon of bug and then also fighting, so it does retain its original typing. Mega Heracross already has a pretty high CP. A lot of people just don't know it. Since it is a regional exclusive, it's just not as readily available. Well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that. Its original CP, max CP, is 2,938, giving it a buff of 1,557, so a very high buff, a little bit short of the Mega Charizard Y. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next one, and that is Mega Gyarados with a max CP of 4,536. Mega Gyarados is a dual-type Pokemon of water and then also dark type. So it does drop the flying and then replaces it with a dark. So not only do you get buff stats, but you also get a change in the typing. This would be something that would be so much fun, add a whole new element to it. Gyarados already has a double dark moveset that you can use, so hopefully you could retain that from a Mega Gyarados perspective, and then even from the water side, it would still be a good option. So this would be a Pokemon that I would definitely want to hold on to. Its original max CP is 3,281, giving it a buff of 1,255. We are finally at the number 3 spot, and that is Mega Tyranitar with a max CP of 5,190. Mega Tyranitar does retain its original typing of rock and then also dark type. By the way, we're getting up into some CPs that you might think would be ridiculous. It's very possible that Niantic will end up nerfing these anyways, but this is what would happen if the stats stayed the same in the CP formula. So Mega Tyranitar, an absolute monster. If it could pick up a rock quick move, it would be incredible from a dark perspective and then also a rock perspective when you're talking about attacking. Its original max CP is 3,670, giving it a change of 1,520. So on this last one, we're going to go ahead and pull up 2 at a time. On the left side, we have Mega Mewtwo X with a max CP of 6,186. Mega Mewtwo X has a change in typing where it is going to be Psychic and then also Fighting type, so it does pick up the Fighting type. Then we have Mega Mewtwo Y with a max CP of 6,857. Mega Mewtwo Y does retain its original Psychic typing. Now I know that these CPs seem ridiculous, but these Pokemon are absolutely incredible when you're talking about just Pokemon in the original series. Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y are at the top. They top the godlike Pokemon Arceus when you're talking about stats. So ridiculous as it seems, this would be accurate. More than likely, it would get nerfed, like I said. But when we're talking about changes, its original max CP is 3,982. When we're talking about Mega Mewtwo X, it changes 2,204. And then when we're talking about Mega Mewtwo Y, it changes 2,875. So absolutely impressive. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you're excited about it. I really did enjoy looking into this, building all the graphics for it, and this just makes me think that if we can get Mega Pokemon in Pokemon Go, I'm thinking Pokemon Go is going to be back. We're talking about making it back to the public. It won't obviously be as good as it once was, but this would be an incredible feature to see added in the game. But anyways, I hope you did enjoy it. If you did enjoy it, be sure to drop a like, be sure to leave a comment. I'm going to be heading into the Generation 3 video next, and then we're going to do a top 10 overall, so I hope you did enjoy it. But anyways, I will see you next time.
Hit me like a tidal wave, triggered by the aftershock.